Hi everyone, this is Navika Chauda here, a cloud engineer and a Microsoft most valuable professional in developers technology. I warmly welcome each one of you to the second episode of Tech Chat with Navika, wherein today we would be discussing cloud engineer as a job role. And for that, we have a very prominent speaker with us today, Mr. Lalit Rawat. He has more than 15 years of experience in this IT industry, and he is also a Microsoft Most Valuable Professional for consecutive 4 years in the Azure category. Currently, he is working as a cloud solution architect. Not only that, he is also an author of two books, which is based on Azure. Apart from being a tech enthusiast, he also has a very high passion of sharing his knowledge with the tech communities, and he has hosted around 1,000 training sessions on Azure. And above all of this, he is a very humble and a kind human being who is always ready to help and support others. Thank you so much, Lalit, for taking out your precious time and being here.
Thank you, Navika, for the warm welcome and the great introductions. A few of the things which I also know today, which you have mentioned. Yeah, it's really great to have myself on your show. So yeah, let's just start.
Thank you so much. So then let's start without any further ado. Um, when we talk about the college students, right, who are pursuing BTech, most of the students, even now, they think that software engineering is the only field, right, which they have to sort of get into after they complete their BTech. And therefore, they get into this data structures, algorithms, and, getting into it. And just in case they're not able to crack the interviews, because definitely it's pretty much high level, then they think that they do not have much opportunities in this technical world. That's what most of the students think, but actually that is not the fact, right? I personally believe as the technology is evolving, right, so are the job roles as well. And I myself, being a cloud engineer, I can say that cloud engineering is a field which is actually booming, especially in the last couple of years, right? It has really made an exponential spike, we can say, in terms of job opportunities as well. But still, there is lack of awareness about it. So, if you can just throw a little bit light on it as to what cloud engineering is all about. I mean, we're going to go into detail into it after the the near future questions. But like just to sort of let everyone know what it is all about for those who are not aware about it.
Sure. Yeah, even that's a great questions to be asked because most of the companies, if you think about a Microsoft or a Google or whatsoever, a AWS or what are the companies, they have they just came up with the DevRel or kind of developer stuffs where developer has in more opportunities and they would just wanted to have the software development. Yes, that's the one part of it because until unless you will not develop anything will not happen. But people has forget for that development you would need an infrastructure. So when an infrastructure comes in, a cloud engineering role is more critical because either you use space services or whatsoever the software as a services, infrastructure is a base, and that's where the cloud engineering role or the infrastructure engineering role will come across. So if you wanted to become an infrastructure engineer or the cloud engineer, where you should be aware of most of the infrastructure part, how that infrastructure works. Let's just say you wanted to build a VM, you wanted to build some of those services, how you're going to do that, and you have to learn about all of those things and stuffs because that is still a critical part. When you ask a developer just go and work on the infrastructure, they won't be not aware of that. There is a networking to be set up between, let's just say, applications or the database server, right? So or in applications, if everything is passed, right, how these things are going to communicate, that's where the cloud engineering role comes in to get that implemented. How their CI/CD pipelines to be integrated with their softwares, because might be developer is just developing the things, but as in back end, if the cloud engineer will not work, that development will never be success. To deploy their code, they need in Kubernetes or container, they need a server or whatever their client requirement, who is going to build. All of those things is going to build by the infrastructure engineer or the cloud engineer, and that's where the cloud engineering role is more critical. And nowadays, if you can look down, that most of the cloud engineering role people are asking Terraform scripts. That is mandatory. They are asking for the cloud engineering knowledge. Let's just say if you are talking about on Microsoft Azure, that you should be aware of minimum of Azure infrastructure knowledge, Azure administration knowledge, how you're going to build the infrastructure, what are the security features you're going to implement, the compliance, the Azure policies, then how you're going to build the services either using the Terraform or a manually or things in and around, because infrastructure people will not talk, or the cloud engineering people will not talk. They just talk on the high level of the developer role and things in and around. And that's where the cloud engineering role is more critical. If they will not build the infrastructure, if they cannot manage the data centers, if they cannot give you the server access and things in and around the whole picture, the developer will not be able to deploy the code. So these are the integrated part which as a developer or the cloud engineer has to work together to make sure the success of their application should be there. And that's where the cloud engineering role is more critical. And there are lots of opportunity in the market where most of the companies are looking for a cloud engineering role, because now the company is asking you have a Terraform scripts. It does not mean you are a developer. You are automating some things, right? Developer role is separate than the cloud engineering role, where you are going to develop some of those softwares and building some of those applications. But whereas in you are going to support that development, the cloud engineering role comes into the place and gives you an ability to build end-to-end infrastructure, including the networking, security, and what so on, which is comes in and how this integrations can be done. Probably a developer can help you to tell them that how they are going to integrate, but if there is any issues comes in, the critical resource would be in cloud engineering. So there's a lots of roles are there. If you belongs to an infrastructure, there's a cloud administrator role. If you belongs to a networking, there is a cloud networking role. If you belongs to an security, there is a cloud security role, and all of those roles are the engineering role or a cloud engineering role. So what whether you are an fresher or experienced, these three roles or the four roles which always comes into the place, and that's where you will start understanding how these roles works. And I always tell to my trainees or the students whom I'm mentoring it, first of all you'll have to focus on your fundamental. If your fundamental is correct, you understand the fundamental, you can work on any of those clouds. And you don't believe me, I have cleared my fundamental from last 10 years before. Still there is an improvement and upgrade to the services, but it will not take more than 5 to 10 minutes to me to understand those things. And that's where this fundamental components is helps you, or the topics will help you to grow in a further. So make sure if your fundamental is good, you wanted to later on, let's just say, jump into from cloud engineering to some different role, will be very easy. But cloud engineering role is really really critical. And then that is the way the market is heading towards the cloud, because it's more prominent. Similarly, AI is coming, and then many other stuff. But who is going to build that infrastructure, or who is going to do the engineering? That's where the cloud engineering roles comes into the picture, and it's had a wider market for major of the companies, and it is a buzzing bird. Hope that answers your questions.
Yeah, definitely that answers my question. And I love the fact how you've given that overall overview, right? As in how you've linked that how developers and how cloud engineers they work together, right?
Yeah.
And in fact, this is something that even I have realized now. As a cloud engineer, that we play a very very crucial role, right? Looking after the security, managing, and then okay, the application has been developed, that then but then making sure that it is up and running all the time, right? And that it is
Right.
following the SLA. That is something that cloud engineer looks after, right? Monitoring
Yeah.
it on a continuous basis. So that was really detailed, and thank you so much for giving that insight to the audience, and I'm sure they're going to find this really informative. um,
Yeah.
Now, before I move on to the next question, something that I'm very curious to know about is, when I was just going hovering through your profile, right? So I saw that, as a part of your graduation, you did BSc in biology, right?
Yeah.
And then you became a desktop. Then you get on to this desktop engineering role, and then you transitioned into a cloud engineer, and today you are a cloud architect. How did this transition take place, right? I mean, it is a drastic switch. Someone who was pursuing biology in graduation and then coming into computer science altogether. How did that happen? And I guess I'm sure, somewhere the answer to this question would also be lying in your reply, that what interested you most about cloud engineering as a role that you plan to switch your entire career into this path.
Mm, I'll tell you, like, it's just a, a motivational story which I would say.
Yeah,
No one has asked these questions to me prior to that. Thanks for asking this question. So
I would love to know about it. I
yeah,
was like, I was sure
so
I'm going to ask this question in the beginning itself.
yeah. So I'll tell you, when I was in doing the 12th in 2004, when I just completed, I have also done a couple of CPMT and all of those tests where I just get a good marks, but I could not get a seat. But still, there's some issues. Then I thought of what's to do. So my father told the teacher will become teachers. The teachers' fathers become the teachers' son, right? Like similarly, the legacy you'll have to follow. I said, okay, fine. So he said, what you will do? I told him that I wanted to do in some other courses, probably food science or some of those things where I can grow myself. But I don't know, it's okay. You'll do the BSc and then you'll become a teacher. I'll just say fine. Then that's how this journey just started. Then I have completed my BSc in 2007 with the biology, and still I don't know where to head into the career and all of those things. There was my one of my friend. His brother was in Singapore, and then we were working. We were graduating together and Jhansi, Bundelkhand University, where we got a good friendship. His name is Vishal. So I got his number from one of the friend. I called him that I wanted to come to Bangalore. At that time, even I don't speak English, or it's purely a Bundelkhandi, which my mother tongue. So I said, okay, come on, that's okay because we already a friend. And he even never thought that what he will do. He asked me what you will do. I said, whatever you will do, I will also do, knowing that if you're going to the different cities where not in your language, because people at that time in 2000 most of the people are speaking in Kannada or English, so that's the the language barrier as well. But he told like you'll come. So my father booked the ticket. I just headed to the Bangalore, and then I reached there, and we started together as an hardware networking job there. Not a job, but the training. So once we started the training together, we are just passionate about that. What is there in the computing? Because 2007, it's not that a great market for the IT industries, but Bangalore is a boom because most of the companies are there. And then during that course, I got a job, so which they're just paying very less amount, but I'll say let's agree. And they told me to work for 12 hours. I'll say fine. And they asked me, the fun part is the whole interview went in Hindi. Okay. And the fun part is they asked me that how much you want. I'll say you can pay me 5K. So why? So why you want this much less? So I said my father is earning 3.5K. I can 5K. It will be good. Knowing, unknowing the fact that Bangalore is a costly city, but that's okay because it was my first job and I was not aware of anything. Someone is giving me an opportunity to work. Well, let's just say they told for 12 hours. I work for 12 hours. That's good. And then from there, I started my journey to start learning the English. There are multiple teachers are there, the students who just fresh graduated from the MBA graduates and all of those things, where I just get connected with them. I'll say, I need your help to train me and teach me English. There are a lot of people who help me in this journey. So ultimately, like, I learned from everyone. I never think is the junior, senior, or whatsoever. Wherever I got that learning, I'll get that learning and then grow. And after 1 year, I just left that job. Then I joined different company. Then understand the IT environment. So almost 5 years 5 to 6 years, 7 years went there till the time I joined one of the major IT company, and that's where they have did I did perform, but I would not get the rating which I wanted, and that's where I thought up to it's time to change, and then my financial condition is not that good, and to be honest, it is all of this because of my daughter. So see, I just wanted to help her to get that graduations, and that's where the motivations comes in. And I was started working on Microsoft Azure at that time. My managers has given me an opportunity and all of those things, and that's where I thought of if I wanted to have earning to train my daughter or put into some good schools and college, which I was not earning now, I'll have to start earning. And that is the starting point and kick point which hits to my heart. And then I put my almost 18 to 20 hours in that learning, though even Azure is just starting, but I got an opportunity in 2012 and 13 to start working on it when I was working with Microsoft. That was an internal project. So I started learning from there, and then I never stopped. Then I try and change the job. I have rejected almost 10 to 12 interview. If you talk about in my life, there will be if I count, there will be more than 200 interviews where I just got rejected. But the one thing that when you get rejected or when you are unsuccessful, there is a successful. Learn from them and then go ahead and try it next. So when I just got rejected in almost 10 to 12 interviews, I say where to go. And I got a job, and these guys told you can join in 1 month, where my company said, oh, you cannot join. I say, fine. And I don't have the job. And within the 1 month, I have to search for the new job because I cannot say that I wanted to back my paper. Again, that's the same story. I tried. I got a job in Noida somewhere, and that's the cloud engineering role. So on the scenario is, I got there's a three interview lined up. I got rejected in first. I got rejected in second, and I got frustrated. And then my anger is like in any level. Like this is the interview I wanted to crack, and that's my last interview where I wanted to land this job, the first cloud engineering role job, and I have given with the passion and whatever the knowledge I know. And then who was the interviewer, his name is Karthik and Amit, who was in my LinkedIn. They recognize me and they give me that opportunity. And that's where I just landed to my first cloud engineering role in one of the Noida's company. And then I connected with one of my colleague who helped me to brought to Bangalore is Mr. He added me one of the Azure Talk group, which is that 10,000 members community, and then I get connected with Neeraj, and he told me that what community does is, and he helped me to grow on that. And then slowly and eagerly, I then connected with the Anup Nair. He is another Microsoft MVP. He helped me to connect with Deepak Rajendran. And when I talk to the Deepak, he is so nice person. Both of you, Anup and Deepak, like they are the turning point of my MVP journey. So Anup understand that what capable I am, and Neeraj is the one is kind of Dronachar to me, who helped me to train me what community does is, and he given so much of which I just connected with Anup. He helped me to grow. Then I connected with Deepak. So Deepak journey is really a nice person to have been always connected, motivated, and he always helped the people to that. And that's where Deepak talk to the Deepak is one of the turning point. And then I become an MVP. And then when I was in cloud engineering role, I thought of how to become an architect, because engineering is just all about implementations, things in and around how you're going to integrate. But architect role is more of strategic planning, your solutioning planning, and then you'll have to do engineering role as well with it. So if you are not a cloud engineer, then you can become an architect. I'm not saying you cannot become an architect, but you cannot become a effective architect, because when you have some of the other solutions, right? So that's where, if you have engineering, good. Then I tried with this, and then one of the companies has given me an opportunity in Pune, and then that's where I got a small cloud architect role, and then the company is called in Bangalore, and then in these years, the common things is I just started learning. I never stopped my learning, because Microsoft product, the way it is growing, and they are upgrading their services, they are enhancing, they are launching new services. So have this continuity. So every day I'll find myself 1 or 2 hours to have those learnings. I started writing the blogs. I started writing the books. That's how I started my from desktop engineer to the cloud engineer, and then to the cloud architect, and then probably it'll go on. So that's how the MVP journey is come across from last 4 years, working with many peoples, and even I'll just connect it to you. It's really nice. And then there's one person called Ilyas. He was also MVP. And then Ajay Kakkar is the one more guy who's an MVP. So these are the people has a key role in my life, and there are many others whom I have learned and work, and couple of juniors as well. Probably I might miss their name, but thanks to all who has contributed to my life, to an biology student to become a solution architect. It's an amazing journey. Probably I just put it into short, but it's an lot of things you can take, that motivations in and around, that never stops. Start learning and be brave. Don't
True.
worry about the failures. Failures may come and go.
Right.
Yep.
That is right. And your journey is so inspirational. It's sort of made me a little bit emotional in between when you told about your entire journey. And I'll just take a minute uh, here that it is such a big inspiration and a motivational journey for all the even students out
Yep.
there, and in general people who are in this job world. You didn't stop anywhere, right? In spite of so many rejections, you said 150, 200, how many you mentioned. I mean, still, you never gave up, right? That's how you should, that's the spirit you should be having. And even I have got so much motivated by this. Thank you so much, Lalit, for sharing this journey, because even I truly believe in this, that I don't have anything known as failure in my dictionary. I always say, you're doing a task, either you're going to be successful or you're going to learn something from it, right? There is no harm. You're working towards a goal, you will never fail. You will just learn from that experience, right? And even I go by that theory, and hearing your story, it is so inspirational, and people are really going to learn so much from this, because I'm sure there's so many people out there who just get a little bit demotivated by back to back rejections, and they don't try further. But here we have Mr. Lalit Rawat, who has been rejected so many times, but still he never gave up, starting from a BS biological student to now becoming a cloud architect and an inspiration to so many people. People are looking up to you, and one of them is here, standing here, Navika. So thank you so much
Thank you
for
so
sharing.
much, Navika.
I really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much once again. Okay, then, getting back to our questions, because this was it was in my checklist, which I wanted to ask. Um, now, when we talk about cloud engineering, right? Um, I like if you can just sort of give a little bit of description of how a day of a cloud engineer looks like. Maybe if the viewers would like to know about it, though I completely understand that it varies from company to company, organization to organization, but still there are some standard roles that a cloud engineer is expected to perform, at least in their initial years, right? So if you can just throw a little bit light on that, and what roles are they expected to perform in their daily day-to-day tasks, what type of technical tasks they are expected to perform.
Sure. Even it's a great questions to ask. So probably most of them will get in clarity that what is their day-to-day job role, rather than seeing the 2 pages of JD and not able to understand to understand what is there in that role. So I'll tell you, like, there are, if you wanted to become a great cloud engineer, there is couple of tools and technology which you have to be focused, and one of them is the knowledge of their infrastructure tool, which you will know it, right? So using this, what is their role in day to day? So cloud engineering role is they'll build the end-to-end environment for the customers or the client. They help the architecture to understand how this different cloud services can integrate it, how they can functions, what are their dependencies and things in and around. They help them to do a POC of their specific projects. They help them to automate some of those operations. They help them to do integrate CI/CD pipeline, DevOps, and all of those things. They also have to learn Terraform scripts or a PowerShell to have those manual tasks to be automated. Sometime they also become, they wanted to also, like, if you have some of those 2 years or 3 years experience, right, you will also have to act as an architect. I'm just integrating to as an architect, but you cannot, your role would be in engineering, but sometimes you'll have to think through this architect journey, that how these things are getting implemented, because your colleague who's a senior to might not be aware of those things, because technology is changed is so much of these things. They might not get the time, but then they might expect you to design some things, or either in Visio, or in a PPT or the documentation. That's important things. And as an engineer, if you think only the technical work is your work, and then documentations and other stuff is not your work, that is two different things, right? You should be knowing it, your technical and non-technical skills, because you're going to implement. But whenever you're going to give an handover to someone, they'll understand while looking at that document what you have configured. You can explain them over the call, people will forget. But the document which you have created and shared with them, that will be there in their library, and when they looked out, they'll know that who has given, and they'll remember your name. So these are, really, like, 90% in cloud engineering will work on the technical stuff to implement things, having that naming conventions, tagging, strategy, how they are going to write the Terraform scripts, how they are going to implement it, what are the requirement. You also, like, as an architect, I also connect with my cloud engineering team, saying that, can you give me the requirement? Is there any new features which we can integrate? Is there any things that what are the access unit, product access unit? Is there anything which we can integrate? So more of, if I can describe into the forward planning, build, operations, and monitoring, including any criteria. These are the, 4 major part where the cloud engineering 90% will be involved. 10% would be in here and there. If you are an expert, probably you can help your architect to get the success as in one team. But these are the, four major criteria where anyone, if you're starting as a cloud engineering role, will be fit. Which either you are in network security or the infrastructure or overall those three. So engineering role, if you have a overall knowledge, you will be more effective and more productive, because you know what needs to be done. Rather than specialize into the one topic, you'll have to go universally and get that specializations around the cloud engineering role. And people much expect from the engineers than to the architect, and have been that journey to through. So they'll ask everything. You have to do this. You have to do this. And probably I would love to hear your experience as well, because you're in that role.
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, what I've learned in this journey till now of my being a cloud engineer, that it is an eye on a glass sort of a job, right? You have to always be on your toes, right? You cannot take anything lightly. Because what I love about my job is firstly, we are, instead of just being catering to one particular field, we are looking into all the fields, right? And second thing is, every day there is something new to learn. Believe me, Lalit. Every day I'm becoming a better version of what I was the previous day in terms of the technical knowledge, right? And I think that's what even I love about cloud engineering as a field. It just makes you more responsible as well, because the position that, at least how we work here in my company, that it's a very responsible position, right? So you have to do things with utmost
Yep,
diligence.
yep.
That's what I have learned. And yeah, I mean, it's been a beautiful journey till now. And I love the four pillars that you just explained, right? Even that's something that even I have learned in this journey of a
Yeah.
cloud engineer. And I think that is like the
And
entire
even,
basics.
even
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, yeah,
Even I'll
carry
say
on.
the 100% delivery, the project
Mm-hmm.
success, it's on cloud engineers responsibilities, or उसको हिंदी में बोलेंगे ना, वो भार उनके कंधों पे ही होता है. So that is something which the cloud engineer role comes with more responsibilities.
Right. Like just the day-to-day operations, right? And
Yep.
making sure that everything is up and running, and etc. etc. That's something that I think that's a very crucial role of cloud engineer. I think that is a standard role, right? That's going to be in every organization. That
Yep.
is at least expected from a cloud engineer. And I think maybe in the previous question, maybe you mentioned while you were telling your journey, and I really like that part. That you can maybe directly become a cloud architect, but cloud engineer is actually the base. So if you've gone through that position, right, you know what the inner working is properly, because you have gone through that role, and you have played that role once in your lifetime,
Yep.
couple of years back. um, now that you
Thank
have
you.
told about how now that you've told about how a day of a cloud engineer looks like in terms of the activities that he has to, the tasks that he has to perform, um, what skill sets, I think I'll just combine two questions over here, that what skill sets are required for one to become a cloud engineer. um, because like for example, if we talk about software engineering, right? So we know that we have to do data structures algorithm, we have to do dbms, operating system, etc etc, right? While we prepare for the interviews for it. But here in this of cloud engineer, we talk about cloud engineer as a role, so maybe there's not that much of awareness, especially among the college students, if I may say. So if you can just tell us what skill sets are required for one to possess in order to become a cloud engineer, and also what topics or the subjects he should be concentrating in order to prepare for the interviews for it.
Cloud engineering role will have multiple stuff which you will do with the multiple services. So have your concepts ready around all the services which is presented in Microsoft Azure. I haven't said that you'll get an expertise, but have that knowledge what services does what. That is the first. The second the topic which you can prepare, and then most of the questions we ask is for networking, because if you don't know the networking, you will never know how you're going to block the port, how you're going to write the nsg and things in and around. That is something you will have to aware of those things. Then how you're going to authenticate your applications and things in and around. You should have some knowledge of your Azure Active Directory as well, that how does it works, what are their fundamentals, how the identities synchronize from on-premises to Azure, and many other features, or you wanted to implement your applications, then how are you going to put those authentications in place. Then the third one is how you're going to be your compute. If I say compute, there is a VM, there is a Kubernetes, containers, and many other services which comes in. But mostly people are, if they are doing the lift and shift migrations and all, then there will be a compute and other services. So cloud engineering role will also help in migrations apart from the day-to-day operations, because that role is really critical there. Then if you come down, then they'll also have to set up the backup, DR. They'll have to migrate from on-premises to Azure. They have to think how to integrate or implement those appliances right? And so on, the monitoring, till the monitoring it will come, because you'll have to set up the monitoring as well. So for an become an cloud engineer, these are the role, the infrastructure role which you'll have to know. Apart from that, you should also having DevOps knowledge, a bit of DevOps knowledge, which includes your CI/CD or with the Terraform or biceps, or let's just say PowerShell, that how you're going to automate the whole infrastructure when it is after the migration comes into the operations or whatsoever it is, right? So these are the apart from infrastructure, one automations skills should be must. If you don't know, if you can do it a later also, this is well and good. People will take you on that. But these are the skills which will be must to have in as a cloud engineering role. But it also depends whether you're going on DevOps engineering role, cloud DevOps engineer, or cloud infrastructure engineer, or cloud network engineer, the specific role. But you should be, if you wanted to become a successful cloud engineer, you should be know all of those tools, know all of those tools, and then you can explore it. That is must to have, because everything comes from there, and then they enhance things together. The second part of your question is, how do we prepare for an interview? And most of that I'll say, don't prepare for interview, clear your concepts. So when you prepare for interview, you'll have a pressure to, you want it to be a successful or crack the interview, right? When you think you wanted to crack the interview, or you wanted to be success, you wanted to land this job, you will be in pressure. Then you'll think, if I will answer this, what will happen? If I cannot answer this, what will happen? When you just be a master of your subject and do a lot of practice, and you have a concept it clear, whatever the questions interview will ask, your answer is the same, right? So prepare for these topics and things, and most of the questions will be asked from the networking, AD, and then your infrastructure services and their migrations. Then how you're going to implement this application gateway or load balancers, what is backend pool, and many other will come in this. But for all who is preparing for interview, I would always say, if you go and take this pressure, you will want it to be successful. Probably you will be successful, but most of the times you will not be successful. So prepare well, go, whether you will fail or pass. Just think, I am just going and giving my interview just for time pass. If I'll get success, well and good. If I will not get success, I have another 20 questions to be prepared, because interview will ask you 20 questions and you'll have to keep writing those questions. And after 10th interview, you'll have a 50 or 60 questions which covers your 1 hour of interview, these things. So when you prepare those 60 or 100 questions, none of the interview will ask apart from that. There might be an
That's right.
additional questions, but if
Huh.
you will be able to answer 60 questions, you'll be get success, right? And then another part, the interview is looked as a candidate, whether he is passionate about his job, whether he is passionate about his skills, whether he is passionate about his knowledge, whether he is passionate about his infrastructure. It's mostly to learn, you are ready to improve. There are many interviewers like me will give you the chance to get an end role and showcase your skills, right? So behaviors, or your learning skills, ready to learn, and things in and around will also keep you still in your job interviews to get in success criteria. Apart from the technical skills, you should also go into your behaviors and things in and around, and that's where you can just go and crack that interview. But don't take a pressure for your interview. It's not your 10th graduation's board exam that will have to pass, otherwise your year will go back. If you fail it, probably after 5 days you'll get another interview. You don't have to wait for a year. And that's the success criteria for it.
True that, true that. I like that line that it is not your 10th or 12th board exam that if you fail, then you'll have to wait for 1 year. That is true. And even as I just mentioned a couple of minutes back, that it just adds up to your experience, right? Even if it doesn't, you don't crack that. It's just adding up to your experience. Use that experience, learn from that, execute it, implement into the next interview, right? Um, that's something really, really nice thing that I've learned from you again. Um,
Yep.
one question that I had was when you I mean I absolutely agree to that, that an interview process is basically that even I have learned, that it is actually a combination of your technical skills plus soft skills. Both play a very important role, right? You cannot give more weightage to one. I would say that I hope you agree to that, right? But when we talk about technical
Yep.
skills and as you've spoken about the skill sets that one should possess, so you mentioned about Terraform, PowerShell, right? CI/CD pipelines, DevOps, all this stuff. Um, I'm sure if some college student would be watching this, he would be having a question because so in the colleges, right? Even if they teach cloud computing as a subject, I mean DevOps, Terraform, in most colleges, I'm saying, I'm not just generalizing it, but in that case, maybe these topics are not taught, right? So for a college student who is in the 4 years of his college, then how should he prepare himself in these lines then? I mean, because if it is a part of your college
So,
subject, you tend to learn a little bit more. But when it is not a part of your college subject, then it sort of becomes a little bit tough. So maybe some resources or something of that sort.
the links you can put it into the video post. Microsoft is giving, and they have categorized various courses based on your role, whether you want it to a DevOps engineer, AI engineer, or a cloud engineer. But cloud engineer is a wider role. Under that, there will multiple roles. But you start from your AG900, which is the fundamental, and then you'll just go to the infrastructure. There are many Terraform modules which you can find it in the GitHub. But the only challenges with the students comes is where they are going to implement, right? So their colleges might have integrated with the Microsoft, and they'll get a pass from Microsoft for 1 year. They can sign up for free subscriptions for a year, and that's where they can go and test it. It's not about go and test it. When you test and leave your resources to Azure, your all the amount will be consumed in a night or two. So make sure when you do your lab, when you finish your lab, please destroy it or probably just delete it. All of your resources, you can save the cost because the cost will be every minute or every second basis based on your services. And do not try to implement very higher cost services. Just play around that how those modules can be learned, how those modules can be deployed, and things and around, and then practice, practice, and practice. Practice makes you perfect. So if you don't do the practice, right, you will be forget everything. So start practicing now. You'll have many of those things, even including the MS Learn course. You'll get a sandbox. So once you sign up to the sandbox, they'll give you the subscriptions, right? And not even to just create those resources. On that resource group, you can create whatever the resources you wanted to create. Try it. First, to try to deploy things manually, understand their configurations. What are the things are there? Let's just say if you're going to create a compute, you need an compute SQ, you need an disk, you need a network, you need a public IP, NSG, you need a load balancers, backups. You might be there when by autobases, right? So all of those things you'll have to write it. You have to put it into Terraform module, right? So first to deploy manually, you'll understand what is the criteria that you are going to write for it. Just simply if you pick up some script and start writing it, you will not understand the concepts, right? So pick those things, deploy it manually, understand well, and then go and write it. So you'll have, now your concepts is clear. It will be easy for you to write that script with the modules and things in and around, right? And then don't think that your module to be perfect in a one shot. It will be a continuous journey. So same way as in English, right? When you go and someone is teacher of training English, right? They say just speak. Don't think it is right or wrong because you
Right.
have a fear that you cannot speak, right? So similarly, you just try. Don't think
Yeah.
whether error is going to be fixed in 1 hour, 2 hours, taking 2 days, but try it out. It will fix automatically
Correct.
because
Correct.
when you just keep start thinking, it will help you to think through the solutions rather than the problem. So I always tell to my trainees or the people, don't think about what is the problem. Think about what could be the different solutions to it, and that is going to help you to this. So that's how they can start. And probably I can share some of those links, which is absolutely free for all of those rules. So probably you can put it in your uh, YouTube channel.
Sure, sure. That will be helpful. And in fact, as you actually mentioned about Microsoft Learn as well, right? So I remember when I was the Microsoft student ambassador, right? Obviously during my college years. So that's when even
Yeah.
first time when I even heard about cloud computing as a field, it was via Microsoft Learn, thanks to Microsoft Student Ambassadors program. That's when even I got introduced to cloud computing. Okay, then there is something known as cloud computing. That time I was in the first year of my college. And definitely, as you just mentioned, so Microsoft Learn has a lot many modules on different technologies, Microsoft technologies, and they provide sandboxes as well, especially to the students, etc. So yeah, and I agree to what you said. I think hands-on practice is very important. I think in that process only you also end up learning its working and theoretical part as well. Theoretical part is something that you can mug up, but
Yeah.
hands-on is something that will make you learn that how it actually works, what is its working in depth, right? That's what even I have something that I've learned now. I make sure that okay, something that I've learned theoretically, I need to implement and see how it actually works. Because I'm sure there's going to be some difference while you work and you're going to learn something extra while you implement practically, right? So I just absolutely agree to that. Um, uh, one question that I would want to ask is uh, wh- uh, so basically most colleges have cloud in sorry software engineer, right? As the job when we talk about in campus hirings, right? So we have software engineer as the roles which are offered to students, or maybe support. Not that much of cloud engineering roles are offered in campus hiring, so definitely students have to apply for off campus hiring. So can you just, and these are for the students who want to become cloud engineer as soon as they graduate out of the college, from the college. So can you just give a very short, maybe a little bit guidance as to how should they go about while they want to apply for the cloud engineer role? So maybe some sites, or maybe in general, what path they should basically take up.
Yeah. So um, it's not about that what has been offered in there, but most of the campus hiring, what I could see, they might be offering as in cloud developer or whatsoever the roles. If you get into those roles, take it, and once you are into the company, right, probably you have an opportunity to get those trainings and then probably jump into the different roles. So if any of the organizations, if they're taking 50 or 60 cloud architect or whatsoever, like cloud engineers or developer and things, right, they all never is going to become a developer. That's the truth. And I've seen many friends and many people. There might be 20 or 30 people, they'll get a developer project, but rest will be doing cloud engineering job or the developer, or some other role. They might get better or bust. It depends on the organizations how they wanted to place the freshers, right? So it's up to your luck. But if you wanted to really get into the off campus hiring, or after that, if you are done with your cloud engineering study, then you can go with a one minimum certifications, which is probably AG 900 or AG 104. That will be your base, or a DevOps engineer is a base. So how they'll think, the interview think is, right, this candidate in last 4 year he did his BTech, but apart from that, what is the value he's added or learned, which will have comes through your certifications, right? So one, you are doing your certifications and you're putting in your resume. Then you can do an internship if you get it. If not, do your self internship. There is many students which I was talking to them. They are, having the hackathon nowadays. Be a part of hackathon, be a part of community, be a part, will connect to the ambassadors, the student ambassadors. Microsoft has it, right? And you was one of them. So just connect with them, because there is a lack of those. If they'll come and ask all of us, or probably an MVPs as well, they can come and say, Lalit, I need your help and doing this. Probably I can connect with someone to get that more help. So be connected, be vocal about what you wanted to achieve, probably within the campus or out of the campus. You will be one of them. There's a lot of startups. They also looking out and enthusiastic college. Then all your placement people will do also hire you, and then they many companies they'll train them to the next level. So that is the success which you can do. At least the certifications is a must need to showcase your passion. The hackathon, the contribution towards the technical community, the GitHub repo, if you are having some things, the codes which you are updating, people are using, free open source contributions, right? These are the things you can put it in your profile. If you don't put those things in your profile, people will never know your skills. Don't think it is 4 pages of profile or 2 pages of profile, but put those things. So when they'll see through your accomplishment and achievement, they'll say, okay, this is the guy whom I can train and can be a next level, right? So this skills has to be
Right.
there in your profile. And most of the students will see they attend a lot of conference, they never put.
Yeah, that is
If
true.
you don't put it,
I've seen that.
how will I know?
Yeah. How will
Right?
you get to know, right? Like
No.
as everyone says, right? There should be, as everyone says, that there should be one page of resume, right? But I my accomplishments, or whatever you can call credentials, they never fit in one page. It always goes up to two and a half. But I think that's no wrong, right? At least the other person who sees it, he gets to know the type of work that I have been doing, right? And that is extremely important. And that's what I always promote. Showcase the work that you have been doing, even minute things, but if it has created impact, please show that to the other person so that he gets to know about the work that you have been doing. And as you mentioned about technical communities, in fact, I had a session last week itself, and that's something that I always mention, that tech
Yeah.
communities, even in my journey, it has played a very integral role. And to be loud about it, Microsoft Learn Student Ambassadors program, and then the Microsoft Most Valuable Professional program, right? They have been a turning point in my career as well. Had I not joined MLSC program, I wouldn't even have got introduced to cloud computing, right? That's where you network, that's where you learn, that's where you sort of upskill yourself and update yourself. And absolutely, a second that thought of yours, that be a part of technical communities, right? I mean, it really helps in your holistic growth altogether. So that's something that even I just, the way how you're thinking, and I think the same way, because that I have seen in my
Yeah.
journey as well, right? And that just helped me out.
True.
So that is true.
And yeah, probably I'll just put it one last point. And don't think when you put those stuffs, what interviewer is going to ask. For them, you are still a fresher. So they will ask only those questions.
Yeah.
But your answers, if you answer 50-60% correctly or put it across some mixture, they'll understand people have knowledge and they'll pick you.
Right. Right.
Because
Right.
they
Right.
just see that how enthusiastic you, if they'll take in your company.
That's correct.
Okay.
And then obviously that even once we get onto the job, we get training over there as well, right? In every company
Yeah.
or job, in any company you join, right? And I would say at any position as well, you would always be trained, in that company, because the infra of every company is different, right? So you would be getting training over there as well. So, but at least the interviews, that's what even I assume, not too sure, but according to even what you said, that they want the basics, your basics to be very clear, and that you're passionate about the job role that you have
Yep.
applied for, and not just for the heck of it. So, absolutely. I would just like to wrap it up with one
I
last
agree on that.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just like to wrap it up with one last question. That
Yes,
is, if you
please.
could just give a very brief details about um, what is the future scope of a cloud engineer, maybe 2 3 years down the lane. What is then he becomes a senior cloud engineer, or what next? So basically, the positional hierarchy. If you can just tell about it, just a little bit, maybe.
Yeah, even that's a really a great questions. The future scope, why people will go, and this if the technology is changing so much, the role can change also. But I'll tell you, still this is the migrations era, and I'm seeing this journey from last 10 years. Initial people are not ready to accept this cloud engineering role as well. They just wanted to fit into their data center role, and just one liner, you should also have a knowledge of cloud engineer. Now they don't put data centers roles in it. They'll say you need this thing is cloud. And still, initially, only the company, service-based company, and many other companies, or let's just say finance or healthcare, they just wanted to test it. Now they also trusting, and they have opened their door for the cloud engineering role. Initially, that business is a loss making business. Now this business is a profit business. Okay, so that's where this boom is there. And this is the things which is not in 3 years, 4 years. I would say at least it will go in 10 to 5 years. Become a senior cloud engineer, and from there your path is open, whether you wanted to go DevOps, you wanted to become a security, you wanted to become a CI/CD open developer, or you wanted to become an architect for application. I think there are multiple roles for an architect, right? You'll have application architect, you'll have a database architect, you'll have a security architect. So there's multiple things which is open for you. But this is engineering is a base for any the top level role, which I think, because when you be on this role, you can go anywhere and everywhere, wherever you want in a cloud journey. And that is going to be a, it's just going to be literally huge in coming years, because the companies which is not opening their door for the cloud journey or to adopt the cloud, they are opening their doors. And I've seen many pharmaceutical companies, many healthcare companies, transportation companies, and then financial companies. They are opening their door and ready to adopt the new technology, right? And that's where this role is in more demand. And it will be in coming, because I was talking to some companies. Only 39 to 40% of companies, they have adopted the cloud. Still there is almost 60% of the companies has to full
Yeah.
fledged adopt the cloud. So you can see the future of it, right? So it's there. So future is really bright, and you can become your cloud journey, and that's the way to go.
Yeah. It is to be here for years and years to come, we can say.
Yep.
Great. Thank you so, so much. And this was the last question. And I really hope that people find it very informational and educational, because I have found it myself. In spite of being a cloud engineer myself, I have learned so much from you today. in this conversation with you. And I'm going to always keep that in my mind, and especially the journey that you have had, such an inspirational, motivational one. I'm sure, I'm sure people are going to get inspired as I have got inspired myself. Thank you so much once again, Lalit, for you're too busy, and still you took out time, your precious time, for this session. It really means a lot. Thank you so much once again. And for all the viewers who are watching, I hope you found it really informative. And we are going to come up with more such sessions, with Tech Chat with Navika. And we're going to explore more such roles like today we did for cloud engineering. We will be doing more, so that you get to know more about more job opportunities and job roles that are there in the market. Thank you so much, Lalit, once again. Do you want to say something?
Thanks, Navka. Thanks for hosting me. Have a nice day.
Thank you so much once again. Thank you.